Hello there guys and welcome, it is Niran here and today it is time for round number 18 of Season 3 of The Ultimate Driver here in our Ferrari career mode on F1 2015. We're here at a very overcast looking Brazil for what proves to be unpredictable weather to say the least and what could be a very unpredictable race. But before we get on to that, I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the community channel idea that I announced last week. 30 YouTubers and 6 leagues getting involved in that is absolutely awesome. If you want to be involved, drop that in the comment section below and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. Honestly, your support has been absolutely fantastic. But getting on to what proves to be a very difficult race because you guys voted that I should get a 10th place grid penalty. On the straw poll, no penalty actually won, but everyone in the comment section said it should get a penalty. So I'll be getting a 10th place grid penalty for this race and see exactly where we do start for this one. It's time to cross over to the qualifying report. Q1 saw a return to top of the timesheets for Lewis Hamilton over Nico Rosberg and Yusufu. Kvyat was the fastest option runner in 7th at an overcast Interlagos. The main headline, however, was Kamui Kobayashi making it through by half a second in 16th, at the expense of Romain Grosjean. Q2 would once again be headed by Lewis Hamilton, this time by 2/10 ahead of teammate Nico Rosberg. Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez made it through comfortably, while Felipe Massa was eliminated in 11th at his home Grand Prix. Kamui Kobayashi took a very respectable 14th. But in Q3 it would be a different Mercedes on pole, as Nico Rosberg took his first pole of the season from Lewis Hamilton. Yusufu was 3rd, but his 10th place grid penalty from Austin will drop him to 13th, promoting Fernando Alonso to 3rd and Sebastian Vettel to 4th. So all of this means that Nico Rosberg would stop the Brazilian Grand Prix on pole from Lewis Hamilton in 2nd. Fernando Alonso and Vettel will be promoted to 3rd and 4th after Yusufu's 10th place grid penalty, with Ricciardo 5th, Magnussen 6th, Hülkenberg 7th, from Bottas, Perez and Felipe Massa being promoted to the top 10.
And is that clock going slowly?
It is, it's clock. Oh my goodness me, Hamilton's back in position again. 100,000 local hearts sink in the grandstands.
It's lights out and away we go.
It is so bad, so bad.
So then, we'll be starting 13th on the grid, having taken 3rd in qualifying, but that 10th place grid penalty from the Austin Grand Prix means we will be starting down in 13th. There you can see Alonso, he massively takes advantage of that. He'll be starting 3rd. Now you can see we are on the grid, the lights starting to illuminate. Daniel Kvyat just to our left and Jenson Button in front of us. 5 lights are now on and they are now off, and we are underway on a slightly worn set of tyres, but it's a fantastic start nonetheless. We're past Kvyat already, now going through between Button and Massa. We're past the Brit in the McLaren. We're now on the outside of Massa, boxed in slightly by the Brazilian in his home Grand Prix and Sergio Perez there, the Mexican in the Force India in front of us. We go to the inside now of Perez as the Senna S's start to end, and we're now up into 10th place after the first few corners. That's 3 places made on Kvyat, on Button, on Perez. Ricciardo getting squeezed out there by Perez's teammate Hülkenberg. He loses out. We got the inside of Massa, who's very slowly too, who's very slow in fact. Hülkenberg and Ricciardo try and get around the outside. We might just hold on in front of the Australian in the Red Bull. Yes, we do, and we hold on to 8th place. Sebastian Vettel and I think is that Hülkenberg just in front of us. Then in front of that is Magnussen and Kevin Bottas and Valtteri Bottas. So we're up into 8th. We made up 5 places there. 3 through the chicane, and then 2 through the next corner, managing to pass Ricciardo and Perez and Felipe Massa on the rundown. So it's been a pretty good start now as we go through this hairpin. This has always been quite a tricky part of the track when you're not running traction control and when you're against the AI, because the AI are very overpowered through there. But we've done an alright job to maintain our gap to Sebastian Vettel in front. In front of Hülkenberg actually is Fernando Alonso, I think, who's dropped a few places off the start. A little bit disappointing for him. Whoever's in the lead has managed to gallop away a little bit here on this first lap. It's talking of galloping down this straight. We are bearing down Sebastian Vettel massively. We go to the outside there of the Red Bull, and we should just about have that move done. He brakes a little bit later than we do, but we sweep around the outside there. Hülkenberg and Bottas tripping each other over slightly as well. Got a pretty poor run though out of the chicane through a little bit of oversteer, and now Sebastian Vettel will have a chance to try and make a move back down this second straight here. No DRS activated, of course, with it being only lap 2. If he did have that, perhaps he may have made the move there, as Hulkenberg and Bottas are very, very slow here through turn 4. That's allowed one of the Red Bulls, I think it might actually be Daniel Ricciardo, to get up the inside. We're alongside each other now, going down towards this sweeping right-hand corner. It is Daniel Ricciardo. He's on the outside of us, but we just about slotting between him and the Force India in front of us of Nico Hulkenberg. And we are now up into 7th place after a fairly hectic few corners and then running to the back of Hulkenberg after outbraking ourselves there down into that hairpin. Now moving swiftly on to the end of lap 2, and we're bearing down on Nico Hulkenberg yet again. Going to try and make a move on the home straight, and through we go up the inside fairly easily. No DRS, just the use of slipstream and rich fuel mixture, and through we go. Now up into 6th place with Valtteri Bottas, and that looks like our teammate Fernando Alonso in front of him, then Kevin Magnussen. But yet again we get a bit of oversteer there, not a very good run whatsoever, even worse than the last lap. And now Nico Hulkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo are all over the back of us. We've somehow got DRS out of the whole situation. In fact, everyone's got DRS somehow. Ricciardo looking up the inside of Hulkenberg, but he backs out and then loses out to his teammate Sebastian Vettel too, as we now move through the first sector or second sector there on lap 3. Now skipping to the end of lap 3, and you know what's coming. We're in a pretty strong position again. This time the victim is about to be the Williams of Valtteri Bottas. The Finn is about to be bared down on. We were bearing down on him really even before we got the access of DRS. Up the inside we go. Fairly easy move now up into 5th place. In front of us Fernando Alonso making a move too. Magnussen very slow. Have to take to the grass there, just about to avoid, and we use the grass. And we actually make it through around the outside there. The Dane was very, very slow through turn 1. Magnussen clearly managed to get to the front of that gaggle and hold up absolutely everyone, including the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, which thankfully backed him up into us and made our life a lot easier. It made our life a lot easier in passing everyone. And now on to lap 4, we're up into 4th place. This has been pretty good. First 4 laps, we moved from 13th all the way up to 4th. And we can see Fernando Alonso just in the immediate distance, if you like. The two Mercs starting to get away, Rosberg especially in the lead. Moving on to lap 5, it took a little bit more time to catch up to Alonso, but it looks as if, again, with the assistance of DRS, we might be able to make yet another move down this home straight. We're bearing down him in the slipstream as we go purple on that lap, and through we go to start lap 6. Up into 3rd place we go, and now only the two Mercedes in front of us, with Rosberg leading proceedings in front of his teammate Hamilton. We set the fastest lap of the race and move up into 3rd past Fernando Alonso. It's been a fairly hectic start to this race. As you can see there on the right hand side is the tyre wear. Now it doesn't look too bad at the moment as we go purple through the first sector yet again on this lap, with a gap of 4.5 seconds up to Lewis Hamilton. But because we started on worn tyres, because we had to use the tyres we started on in Q2, tyre wear is a bit of an issue here. And it looks as if we may have to pit a little bit earlier than our scheduled time for a pit stop of lap 11. We may have to come in a few laps earlier. As you can see, the gap has gone up slightly to 5.2. We've also lost someone from this Grand Prix, not entirely sure who that is, as we now move on towards the end of lap 7. Now moving towards the end of lap 8, you can see the tyre wear's got even worse, and the gap is now up to 7 seconds as we skate out wide there through the last corner, or the last proper corner. I don't know if it's actually the last corner. So moving on to lap 9, we've sort of been forced into the pit lane. Our hand has been forced. And because of that, we're going to try and be careful in this stint. We're going to move on to the prime tyres because that leaves our strategy open to interpretation. It means that we can change on the go. You know, if these tyres last long enough, we can go for an option final stint. But if they don't last long enough, then we'll have to move on to the primes. Because if we move on to the options now, we've sort of cooked our goose, really. In the meantime, having seen a Force India go past in the background, it looks as if we're going to filter out behind Nico Hulkenberg and in some sort of traffic here as well, which isn't ideal. There's quite a lot of empty space and empty air behind him, but not really where we've just come out, which is behind Nico Hulkenberg in 11th place, moving up from lean to standard after that pit stop. And on lap 10, we're in 11th place, having made our pit stop. We will get an undercut on the guys in front, being the two Mercedes, and of course on our teammate, quite a heavy one in fact on our teammate, and also on Rosberg too. Moving now towards the end of lap 10, and to start lap 11, we've got the DRS now on Nico Hulkenberg, who's a sitting duck on those old option tyres, and we move up the inside of him. We also managed to pass Williams in the pit lane. I think that was Felipe Massa, so we're up to 9th now, going purple onto lap 11 there through that second sector, and we're bearing down on Kevin Magnussen. This should be a fastest lap of the race now with the assistance of the slipstream and DRS. We're going to breeze past the Dane here in the McLaren fairly easily as his teammate and a few others pit in front of us, and through we go past him, and now up into a net 4th place. Past Alonso, which should become a net 3rd place when I think it is Daniel Ricciardo pits in front of them. So on to lap 12, we're back up into 4th place, having set the fastest lap of the race there with a 1:14.9. Moving now on to lap 13, And we do in fact take that third place as Daniel Ricciardo, who always seems to be the last person to pit, comes in there in the Red Bull. Nico Rosberg has lost the lead, interestingly, to his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who got the undercut on him at the end of that stint. Hamilton did seem to have quite a lot more pace than him through that first stint, and we'll see just how much time we've gained on the two Mercedes. It was 8 seconds when we came into the pit lane, it's now 3.1, so we've gained about 5 seconds from that 3-lap undercut, but it means our tyres will be a lot older towards the end of this stint. As you can see though now in the background is the classification. That's just showing that the two Mercedes are on the faster option tyres, whereas myself and Alonso behind on the prime tyres. So in theory they should get away, but if we can try and preserve the gap we have to the two Mercedes in front, it will make things a lot easier for the final stint. As you can see, we're just on board here with Nico Rosberg, as there seems to be a battle for the lead emerging. Rosberg seems to have a lot more pace than Lewis Hamilton with the DRS down the home straight, and he makes it through past his British teammate and up into the lead of the race. So Nico Rosberg taking the lead of the race there from Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, of course, jumping him in the pit stops with that undercut, but Rosberg with the raw pace manages to get back through, and as you can see, Hamilton is now down into second place. We find ourselves in third and 4.2 seconds behind. About 5 laps after the two Mercs came out, we've managed to only lose about a second to them whilst they're on the option tyres and whilst we're on the primes, and this is looking pretty good. Our pace on the primes is looking pretty good. We are getting helped substantially though by backmarkers. As you can see on the mini-map there's a massive gaggle of cars holding up Rosberg, who's now in the lead, and holding up Hamilton. There's a Lotus and a Marussia in front of us, and that was really a key thing in this stint. We seem to deal with backmarkers a lot better than the two Mercedes did, and that really kept us going in this stint. Otherwise we probably would have lost too much time with the two Mercs being on the option tyres. Now moving towards the end of lap 19, the gap is only 2.8 seconds thanks to backmarkers holding up Lewis Hamilton in that Mercedes. It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good indeed. The Mercedes cars will be pitting soon. The good thing about changing the strategy during the race is I now know when they're going to pit, because I'm going to get a message saying I need to pit, as you can see on lap 22, which means I now know that the two Mercedes are going to pit in this sort of vicinity. As you can see there, Hamilton comes in, he gets an undercut yet again on his German teammate, despite Rosberg being in the lead, and we managed to leapfrog him and move up into second place, but of course we do need to pit again onto the option tyres, hopefully towards the end of the race. Now moving on to lap 24, and Nico Rosberg comes in as well, which means we take an outright lead, although as I mentioned, again, we will need to pit, so he won't jump anyone, I don't think, but because we managed to prolong the life of these tyres very, very well, we weren't even really experiencing too much wear at the end of the stint. It does mean, having extended this stint, we will be able to move on to the option tyres for the last stint of the race. As you can see in the background, it's a good pit stop again from the guys, a 3.769 pit stop. We've already lost out to Rosberg and Hamilton. They've both gone through, but it is now like we've got to try basically and catch Hamilton and Rosberg. They're going to be on the primes for this stint because they had the options for the last one. They have to run the primes for this stint. That's why they pitted about 3 laps earlier than we did. So we have a massive advantage here. Even though this sort of tyre advantage doesn't seem to be doing too much for us in the last stint, obviously we managed to actually gain outright on the two Mercedes despite being on the slower tyre. But on to lap 26, and we are 4.3 I think, or 4.7 seconds behind the two Mercedes and on the faster tyre. Now on to lap 28, and this is not what we need. Kvyat and Adrian Sutil being absolute mongoloids in the middle of the apex through the center S, as we actually have to push Kvyat through there, and just awful driving from Kvyat and Suter, which will have lost us about a second there through the chicane, having their own battle, I suppose, not realising we were there. The gap had been coming down, but it is now back up to 4.2 seconds, and as you can see, we're actually setting the fastest lap of the race. We have got really good pace on these option tyres. There are 1:14.9, and we'll see now at the end of this sector what the gap is. It's down to 3 seconds, so we've managed to cut the gap by 1.2 seconds on that lap, and now towards the end of lap 30 we'll see what the gap is at the end of the second sector, and we're going purple here on this lap, and we have cut the gap now to 2 seconds. We are catching Hamilton at an absolutely massive rate of knots, and this is all whilst having to fuel save. You'll have seen very briefly there we were on -1 lap of fuel. We were actually on -2 laps of fuel at the start of the stint, so we've had to be in lean mix, and we're still catching Hamilton and setting purple lap times there. We set the fastest lap of the race, and onto the next lap, lap 31, we're still setting purple sector times. Now onto lap 32, the gap is absolutely non-existent, and we're still in -1 lap of fuel, but we're doing okay there as Jean-Eric Vergne, the other Toro Rosso now, gets in the way. Kvyat and his teammate now, Vergne, who actually managed to hold up Hamilton, and then just brake checked us. We had to lock up in avoidance, and now we're on the back of Hamilton. As you can see, he is on those prime tyres, and this is looking good in lean fuel mixture yet again. So we'll have we'll have a bit of difficulties getting past Hamilton this time. All the moves we made earlier on in the race were in rich fuel mixture as opposed to lean, so Hamilton will gallop away a little bit, but we'll get the assistance of DRS down this straight and hopefully be able to make a move on him. I don't know if we'll be able to catch Rosberg, who's leading the race, because I think he's got about a 5-second gap over Hamilton too, but we'll have to see. With the assistance now of DRS flicking the letterbox and the rear wing open, we look to the inside but decide against it, and Hamilton just pushes out wide now through the first corner. So we thought about the move. Don't want to dive bomb it up the inside though really and risk the chance of second when we've got so much time and such a pace advantage over Lewis Hamilton in this stint. We might as well bide our time and just wait for the perfect move, the perfect opportunity to pounce up the inside of Lewis Hamilton, which could be construed as wrong, but we're just going to gloss over that completely now. Moving to the end of lap 33, and we're in a much better position now, back up into rich fuel mixture because we're now onto optimal fuel, so we can afford to do so with the assistance of DRS and the slipstream. We go to the inside, feint to the outside, and then goes to the inside, and through we go. Easy move now up into second place, down into turn 1, where we've made most of our moves, I think pretty much all of our moves actually, in this race, apart from passing back markers, and up into second place we go, having started 13th on the grid. Of course, Lewis Hamilton will get DRS down this little straight as well, and we go to the inside to defend, and that is very effective in the end because Hamilton decides to back out there as we go a little bit wide there through turn 3/4. Now to the end of lap 34, Hamilton's managed to stay with us here. He's going to go and try to go to the outside there with, of course, the DRS down that home straight. And he's actually managed to get round the outside there. Lovely move from Lewis Hamilton, but we will, of course, get the DRS now down this second mini straight, if you like, on the penultimate lap of the race. So this battle really coming down to the final few laps, coming right down to it. And in the slipstream, Hamilton goes defensive. We're going to try and go right around the outside there. Hamilton very, very slow on the apex, and we just drive around the outside. It's a shame to make the move like that, but unfortunately, that's just what you get on this game. Lewis Hamilton there pretty much conceding second place to us. Now on to the final lap of the race, and Marcus Ericsson getting in the way of the Brit now, and that surely has sewn it up for us. Nico Rosberg is going to win the race fairly easily. He's the next dot up the road on the mini-map, so we've got about an 8-second gap to make up in half a lap, which is, of course, not going to happen. We've done a pretty good job of making this move on Hamilton, of course, catching him in this third stint and then passing him. We've done a pretty good job. Hamilton's still there behind us. We might want to try and get out of DRS range because obviously it is quite a long run to the line and hopefully we won't get pounced on. We have only got 5 to 6 tenths though on Hamilton, and we've got a pretty poor run now out of this final corner. And now onto the home straight as Rosberg wins from Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton will be looking to make it a 1-2 right at the death. We're still in front of him. Hamilton will now get the DRS as well as the slipstream, and going towards the line, Hamilton bearing down on us, but we do in fact just about hold on by around about 1/10 of a second, it looked like. And we do hold on to second place. Our objective of first somehow, despite starting 13th, was in fact failed. Unsurprisingly, Nico Rosberg takes the win though, in front of ourselves and Lewis Hamilton, pretty much inseparable there on the line. Fernando Alonso took 4th in front of the 2 Red Bulls there of Vettel and Ricciardo, with Bottas, Magnus and Hülkenberg, Jenson Button rounding out the top 10, and Felipe Massa, after a disappointing weekend, only takes 11th at his home Grand Prix. But a fairly exciting race here, and here is how it affects the championship, the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton is now out of reach for us. We have no chance of taking the title, even with double points in Abu Dhabi, which is a bit of a shame. We can still take second though off Nico Rosberg with a decent point swing. He finds himself closing in on Lewis Hamilton. He still has a chance of the title, of course. Ricciardo in 4th there from Vettel, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Button, Massa, Magnussen, and Sergio Perez there running out the top 11 from Bottas in 12th. And here is how that race affects the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes, of course, well out in front, over 200 points clear of Red Bull in 3rd. We're pretty static in 4th. We could possibly take second, I think. I'm not entirely sure, with a massive point swing, but it looks as if we're going to stay in 3rd from Force India, McLaren and Williams in 6th. The major battle, of course, down towards the back with Sauber, Lotus, Toro Rosso and Caterham. Now you can see, though, we are celebrating in Parc Fermé after that fantastic second place, actually. Good recovery drive. Of course, after that 10th-place grid penalty earned from the aftermath or the finale of the Austin race, there you can see us just congratulating Nico Rosberg on a fairly solid win for himself, finally getting one over Lewis Hamilton, and in qualifying as well. That was Nico Rosberg's first pole of the season, would you believe? And yeah, overall a pretty good race. A decent recovery drive from 13th on the grid. Bit of a shame we started 13th on the grid, because it looked as if we may have actually had the pace in the race to possibly win. But of course, Lewis Hamilton not retiring meant it wouldn't have mattered anyway as far as the title is concerned. In the meantime, I really hope you did enjoy that very, very exciting race, that recovery drive. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy. 50 likes again would be absolutely awesome. That's what we've been smashing on recent videos. Comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much, and leave a favourite and subscribe if you are new around here. It has been an absolute pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a good day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.